rivalry is brewing in F1. Ferrari is nowhere. The prodigal son returns. Austrian GP? Is that you? Let's jump the start.
All right, guys, welcome in. How are you guys doing? I want to make sure everybody is doing okay. It's been a slow news week. I want to say hi to two of my closest friends, Yancy and Ruben. Yancy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, but I disagree with you on the slow news week. But
it's only one highlight. What's going on, guys?
Hola, Ruben.
I missed this. I missed the news coming in fast and crazy.
But
during the F1 season.
Before we get to that, I just wanted to say something that we kind of touch on at the end of the show normally. Let me get to it now. Guys, we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Stitcher, and YouTube. Please follow us, subscribe, like, comment, drop a 5-star rating. It only helps us be seen and spread the word about us. So let's get started with some of the news. Ruben, if you could, there's a little bit of stuff happening. Maybe you could just lead us into it.
Slow news week.
Alonso's back. My bad. Alonso's back. Yancy, come on. Alonso's back. You've been calling this since...
I told you so. Did I not say that?
There you go. Now you got excited. There you go.
Did I not say that? And you guys excoriated me. I felt like I was crucified.
Yeah.
You told me that it was never going to happen. No, I'm crazy. I'm dumb. What are you talking about?
I didn't call you like that, but yeah.
We didn't say it, but that's what we thought.
But I told you. Yes, exactly what you thought. I knew it because I saw it in your faces. If you guys could see these guys' faces, I can see.
They were full of contempt.
It was. And I wish I could have been in front of you guys when I actually saw the news come in.
That would have been nice.
So
I wanted to see the look on your faces.
I want to clarify. Both Yancy and I are bald men. I know the situation. Yancy goes home. He puts on, after a fresh shave, he puts on a tinfoil hat to eliminate any kind of interference. That's how he gets these radio waves in. He intercepts phone calls like the Russians. All right, so we're joking around, but two-time world champion Fernando Alonso is back, joining the grid. He's joining Renault Motorsport, where I guess it all started. He's going back home.
Are you guys not happy about that?
I'm happy about it. I just want to see how it shakes out.
I'm ecstatic about it. This is going to be awesome.
I freaking love it that he's back.
I think in general, it just adds to the spectacle of Formula One, which I think is always good. I didn't think I thought that they were going to bring in a name driver, meaning like Vettel or Hülkenberg, and that's not much of a name. But I'm glad that they went this route.
The only other person that I can see in that seat would be Vettel, because he has that cachet. He's a race winner, a world champion, and that's what they need in that seat. They need somebody who can come in and take that car to a higher level than what it is. And I don't even think Vettel can do that. The only person available out right now that could have done that, besides Daniel Ricciardo, which he's leaving already, would have been Alonso. I think it's the perfect choice for that seat.
Alonso is a great add to that seat.
So
awesome news. It's just unbelievable that he's back, because he's bringing a lot of stuff back to not only Renault, but to Formula One itself.
Absolutely. And even Cyril Abiteboul said it. He said he had talks with Vettel. He had talks with other big name drivers. Yes, he had talks with Vettel. But the reason why he chose Fernando Alonso is that Fernando Alonso showed the interest, the passion to get that team better, which is what they need. He will galvanize that team. He will make that team better. And at the very least, I'm not saying that they're going to win a championship, but at the very least, get that team on a podium, which is definitely very capable, which Nico Hülkenberg could never do.
No.
Okay? He could never do it. He had plenty of chances. He could never do it. he will get that team on a podium and at the very least have that team winning for sure, bar none, best of the rest, or even third place. I think he can do that.
So I'm sorry, but you guys crack me up a little bit in the sense that, you know, we talk about Renault and Cyril Abiteboul is the team boss for Renault. There was a story on Motorsport earlier where he's saying that he doesn't feel like Alonso will be all that toxic when he comes back. He feels like he's well adjusted now. The 2 years off brought him back. And Yancey's saying that, you know, that he's re-energized, all that stuff. And to me, it's like they were looking for a driver and Alonso happened to text him, "You up? What are you doing?" Because I'm here as the
I don't think I don't think it was quite like that.
WID. What are you doing?
Unfortunately, well,
I'm downstairs. Can I sign up?
The reason
It's a toxic relationship.
the reason why,
At least that's what he showed with McLaren, by the way.
yeah, but
Yeah.
because
It wasn't well.
anywhere that Alonso has gone, he's left with issues. The only team that he never left with issues was Renault. He always kept in contact with that team, always.
Well, yeah, he won 2 championships.
Exactly. So they love him there. He loves them, and it was a natural fit. And why not? They need him now. They definitely took a step down last season, and what they thought that they were getting with Daniel Ricciardo was a team leader that would be dedicated to the team and take that team to the top. Obviously, they didn't get it with Ricciardo because Ricciardo was leaving.
I think that would have shown this year with Ricardo, though. Like, I think it takes at least a year for you
Yeah,
to
but he's
adjust
already-
to a team.
I know, but he's
And
already.
then Corona hit. He didn't show anything this year.
But he's
You know,
already.
like-
That's the whole thing. He's committed to another team.
Oh no, yeah. Now
You
I
know?
understand that now. You know,
now
obviously,
he's committed to it.
he got
Mhm.
pretty much that was like, you know, he got forced to get out because he didn't fit in that year, and then we have only so far these 8 races. So he's like, am I going to stay stuck here? Like, I
Well, if you promise him a competitive car and you don't deliver,
That's the thing.
what's going to happen? So that's where, so overall fitting into the grid for Alonso, that's where my concern is. It's going to be the same, not the same story as with McLaren because that car was a dog. But
And he
GP2
fought it.
engine. GP2 engine.
and he fought.
he fought. But the Renault car is going to be behind Mercedes. It's going to be behind Ferrari. I'm guessing because it's going into 2021. Ferrari, Mercedes, Red Bull, and McLaren. You're going to be at best the 5th best car.
But he already knows that. There are.
Where are you living Tracing
There-
Point?
Tracing
Listen,
Point. We'll be
killing
fighting
it.
there. Yeah,
Listen.
we'll be fighting there.
He went in to McLaren, and McLaren Honda were promising him a competitive car. So the minute you give him a year, you give him 2 years, the minute you don't get that, a star driver like Alonso is not. You don't give it to them, he's gonna start complaining because he wants to win. He wants to be competitive, and he of all drivers can take a car that doesn't work at all and put it into the points like he did with McLaren many times.
That's your point on that. I mean, he has the sauce to take the car to
Yes.
the top, even if you're missing a couple of little
Exactly.
things.
So
But he needs to have some
The-
of the tools.
the reason why Alonso wanted to come back at least at the very least the next season coming up is that then it would be 3 seasons out of F1. So then you don't
It'll
know
be
what
much
you're
tougher
doing.
to come in, too.
So it would be a lot tougher to come in. But you come in next year, he knows that the car's not going to be great next year. It's going to be literally the same car as this year. But with the rule change coming up in 2022, they have potential to move that car up. Now, it may not be the best car, but a driver like Alonso can make that car better. He can develop it better, and he can take that car to a higher spot than what he can be. That's why he's so good. That's why I'm such a huge fan of him. He's the same pedigree as Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Same pedigree as Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, he's already making moves within Renault already.
Same
so.
pedigree as Max Verstappen. And I think Leclerc will prove to be the same pedigree like his drive last race.
You're pushing Leclerc out again? He's pushing Leclerc again.
Can you win like a handful of races before being compared to a 2-time world champion?
Exactly, yeah.
But, you know, you said it, that he was not happy with the car in McLaren after a year or two of being promised a better car. And you guys were talking about Ricciardo before. It's the same situation. So we shall see. In my opinion, it's the same situation where a star driver comes in, getting paid a boatload of money, gets a car that was supposed to be better last year. It was not. Look at it this year. They're fighting for 6th best at this point this year. Come on.
Yeah, but
It's only been one race though.
But they that coming in, Renault, they've been good at especially this season coming in, at lowering the expectations, just like McLaren did last season. Last season, McLaren came into the season lowering expectations, and they overperformed that. Sometimes some teams start talking, and this was what McLaren was doing before. When Alonso was there, they were talking up the car. They're gonna get better right away, et cetera, et cetera. And the car was a dog. It didn't go anywhere, and that's why Alonso got frustrated. I think sometimes you have to control what you say to the media and what you're gonna be doing. Just just overperform and just over deliver, or under promise and over deliver, I should say. That's what you got to do.
I mean, staying with Renault, like something Danny Rick said today, he just said they need to iron out. They need to have the same car from Saturday on Sunday. So they're saying they could do good on qualifying, but the car does not perform the same on Sunday.
Wow,
it's like the opposite of Haas.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Wow, Haas is so bad.
Or Racing Point.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. It's like you get the points on Sunday, and you have to prepare that car. Obviously you would want a good spot in qualifying so you can start the race higher, because we know that track position is very important in Formula One. But and it's also in this era with the error rules, it's very hard to overtake because it's hard to follow a car. So yeah, qualifying is important, but if it doesn't make any sense for you to get a good lap if you're going to lose positions at the beginning of a race. Doesn't make any sense. So
today they asked Danny Rick if he was willing to lend his car to Alonso in FP1 so he would get a couple of laps, and Danny Rick's like, no. They asked him why. He doesn't need it. He's Alonso. He'll drive good on anything. I don't want to help him.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I don't think they don't anticipate him taking the wheel at any point during practices at all. And I mean, he said he'll be at some of the races. He'll be working with the simulator, but he doesn't feel like he needs to be in the car this year. So,
I just hope that overall it's a huge manufacturer, Renault, biggest in the world, right?
Yeah,
the engine manufacturer.
Yeah. So I hope that car continues to improve. It wasn't long ago, 2018 Baku. They were fighting Red Bull. I don't know if you guys remember that race. It was. Dude, you see Hülkenberg?
That was a classic picture.
It was unbelievable seeing the two Renaults attacking Red Bull. I was like, holy crap, they're here. Yes. They're ready to go.
And that was the season where they finished fourth, and they had high expectations. That's going into last season, and they just underperformed last season. But ever since they came back into F1, they've constantly just moved up the ranks. They definitely have the budget to do it. They definitely have the personnel to do it. They've even upgraded their factory. They can do it.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I
careful,
think
it might be with Alonso.
But that's why it's like a team like that needs a star driver
always
to push them, to galvanize them. Because if you have, let's say, a driver, and I don't want to keep banging on Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg is a decent driver, but he's not a race winner. He's not a championship winner.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to win. You got to know how to win. Alonso is all of that and more.
Alonso doesn't want nothing less.
Alonso, you give Alonso a good car and he wins.
And he makes it better.
He went to the World Endurance Championship. He won Le Mans twice. Won the championship.
There wasn't much competition there.
Huh?
And Toyota was killing it.
But he's still winning. He went to the Indy 500 a few years ago, almost won that race. Honda engine blew up. Okay,
the VTEC.
The VTEC on it.
So
the VTEC wasn't opening properly.
And on top of that, he goes to Sebring. He wins Sebring, and he wins the 24 Hours of Daytona. You give him a good car, Alonso wins.
Is he going to win it this year?
And he outperforms veterans of those series. He's a great driver. He's gonna do. I hope he can do great in F1.
Let's just hope he's not next to Pagano, so that the land.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of veteran drivers and drivers moving, last week or after the race, it came out that Vettel was not really aware. He was not made aware of Ferrari's plans to even move on from him. And I'll hand this over to Yancey.
Yeah, that was weird because, and the reasoning that Ferrari gave is complete BS.
So they gave that reason to what? Like just to look good, maybe, or just to cover
Well,
up?
what was the reason they gave?
The reason that they gave was because of COVID. The virus changed everything. It's just as vague as I'm saying it. It changed everything, and it just gave him an excuse to move on from Vettel. That's basically what it was. That's my interpretation of it. They said that the pandemic changed everything. They called Vettel up. They said,
It's not me, it's you.
yeah, basically. They called Vettel up. They said that they weren't bringing him back. There was.
They're telling he's not the right German because Schumacher was German.
I got this. I'm not even gonna go there. But there was so much talk of contract negotiations, as in the press overseas. So much talk of contract negotiations and saying that Vettel was demanding X amount of money, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. He said he didn't demand anything. If they would have talked to him, he would have understood that they got to pay him less, and he would have re-signed with the team. Ferrari used it as an excuse to get rid of Vettel because they already put all their chips in on Charles Leclerc. That's basically what it is. That's how I'm interpreting it. That's how everybody else is interpreting it. And I remember there was a news report saying when he got the phone call, Vettel just came out and said, "I'm not going to be back next year." And then Ferrari had to rush and put out a press release that he wasn't going to be back next year. He just wanted to get it over with. Ferrari was going to wait a while before they put it out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
that was the rush that came out, like with science and all that other stuff that provoked that.
Yeah, exactly. But and everything started from there. But Ferrari put their chips on Charles Leclerc. They didn't want Vettel back. I kind of understand why they didn't want Vettel back, because Vettel wasn't playing nice last year with Leclerc either. And you see the collision in Brazil. He didn't want to. They had an agreement in Russia. That Leclerc would give him the slipstream, and he went ahead and took the lead, which karma's a
but he was the number one driver last year, no?
Yeah.
In Ferrari, that means something.
Apparently not. I mean, and I don't know
or
if
it switches throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole thing. But when you have Leclerc was clearly faster than Vettel last year. In every aspect. He out-qualified him. He was faster throughout the race. Anytime that they were together on the track, Leclerc would gain on Vettel. There was no question about it. Leclerc is quicker than Vettel. But Vettel obviously he's supposedly the team leader at that point. He's a championship winner. He wants to be given that right. But when you're trying to win as a team, the faster driver goes ahead. And that was Leclerc. So he didn't play nice, and he's never played nice with teammates. He had a problem with Mark Webber.
Daniel Ricciardo,
and Daniel Ricciardo beat him like a drum that one season that they were together. Beat him like a drum. So Vettel does not play nice with teammates that challenge him.
Gotcha.
He never has. He never will. So, and instead of you getting a toxic relationship, like a driver relationship, like you had, the latest one that you can tell was that you could see was Hamilton with Nico Rosberg at Mercedes. That became super toxic, and that even drove Rosberg to retirement after he won the championship, after he beat Lewis. Instead of having that on the team, I think Ferrari just said, "Oh, COVID changed everything. Blame it on COVID. We're not bringing you back." That's basically what it comes down to.
But so we're talking about teammates potentially not gelling and Vettel's old times with Red Bull. The rumor is that one of the first calls that he made was to Helmut Marko. What do you guys think of that? Is there a future for Sebastian Vettel to go back, essentially like Fernando Alonso, go back home to Red Bull?
Vettel has always loved Red Bull.
He's never detached.
He's never detached from them. This is the reason why he said there could be other things. It's Formula One, and a lot of things happen behind the scenes that you never know of. he's always kept in touch with Helmut Marko. Helmut Marko is a friend of his, an advisor of him, and it was the first phone call. Now, it could be that he was asking for a place. Or just informing him, listen,
Test
I'm
driver?
available. Listen, if Vettel, he even said today, if Red Bull offered him a contract, he would.
Yeah,
take
he said
it.
that. Yeah.
Dude, there's no.
But I don't see that happening.
No way.
Especially with Verstappen there.
No way. Because if you want to talk about attack, that would be the most toxic.
That would be
setup
super toxic.
because Verstappen would not back down, and he is super talented.
Verstappen
I'm very upfront.
Yeah.
He shows his emotions.
Verstappen is the most aggressive driver on the grid. He's the most aggressive driver on the grid. He does not back down. He wants to win.
Okay.
That will be a problem unless Vettel
Backs off.
wants to be relegated to a number 2 driver, which I don't see. He's only 33, I believe.
Yeah.
He's
32,
only 33.
32.
He's still in his prime.
He won 4 championships.
He won 4. I'm just perplexed. I don't know what's happening to him. He's such a good driver. But
Where did he go?
but what is proven about Vettel is what I talked about in a previous podcast. The sign of a great driver is if you put him in a car and he takes that car and hustles it around the track. Lewis Hamilton does it, Max Verstappen does it, Leclerc does it, and Alonso does that. There's very few drivers that can do that. Vettel has proven that he needs a right car below him, especially a car that is planted in the rear end for him to drive like Vettel drives.
Yeah.
And when he was in Red Bull, he had the double diffuser. And again, Adrian Newey is a master at aerodynamics, and he can keep that car on the ground through corners. Vettel needs a car like that. And if he doesn't have it, he's not quick, and you can see he's exposed.
So we're talking extensively on Red Bull. I want to talk about one quick thing, the emerging rivalry between Red Bull and Mercedes. Last week, Red Bull was the one that protested the DAS system. That is the dual access system that Mercedes uses.
That's it.
For a couple of things.
That's basically what Mercedes said last week. That's it.
But they use it. Last week, they were talking about using it in order to keep the tires within temperature range. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
They also forced a review of the Hamilton yellow flag incident or actions, which ended up getting him the grid penalty 41 minutes before the start of the race.
Crazy.
And then during the race, we had the Albon and Hamilton incident in which Christian Horner, the team boss for Red Bull, came out saying, Albon was ahead and Hamilton needs to end up changing his tactics because my driver was ahead and he drove into my driver.
And Albon came out saying, this guy's such a sore loser, man.
Yeah, that was the team radio. Ruben, what do you think of this potential budding rivalry? Do you think it's building up into whenever everybody gets to put the chips down once again in 2022 with the new regulations, there's going to be a lot of competition?
There's going to be a ton of competition regardless. It's going to be like a level playing field. It's still going to be, some of the things going to be ahead. Mercedes for sure, they're welcoming any challenges that Red Bull have to bring, regardless of whether it does or that, it doesn't work. If they're doing it to break Hamilton apart, that ain't working either. Hamilton just says, bring it on. Like, okay, whatever. He just brushes it off.
Right.
He doesn't even, they ask Hamilton the questions. He don't even elaborate on it. He just said, bring it on. They can do whatever they want. Challenge? Okay, bring it.
Are
they doing it for that? To try to get into people's head?
No, here's the thing. I saw some
because that's what Hamilton did today. They asked him about it, and he just brushed it off. Like they could bring whatever they want.
Maybe Horner's playing the Nico Rosberg psyche, trying to get into his head, and then let his drivers do the work.
So what? So he's gonna appear with a picture with the fire next to him. Is Hamilton's career over?
I think I saw the news reports and then I started thinking about all the events that happened during the weekend. And it was Red Bull just instigating everything, challenging the DAS system. They actually looked at a 360 camera view of Hamilton's car posted on social media
Yo, that's bad, man. When they got to go to that extent.
to get a
like that.
better view of that penalty. And then they went to the steward or to the FIA and they referred it to the stewards. And that is what got Hamilton the penalty dropped to 5th place.
That's crazy because we talked about the Alonso you up text. This is now social media creeping on Red Bull's part.
Yes.
This is getting real interesting now.
Listen.
21st century.
Listen. Social media breaks up relationships.
No, because obviously,
And this is one relationship that is going, well, it's good for us, the fans, but it's gonna get ugly. And even Toto Wolff said today that the gloves are off now.
in that video,
Because and Christian Horner is one of those I love him because he's very combative and he's always defending his drivers and his team's actions. And that team is top notch. They're so on point. Pit stops, engineering, they're on point. If they get a winning car,
make a mistake when it comes to all of that.
they get
That's
a
a
winning
package.
car, watch out for Red Bull. And with Ferrari struggling the way they are, to the point where Ferrari is even being considered, if they don't bring the right upgrades in the next few races, they're going to be fighting the top of the midfield instead of fighting top 2, from what I'm looking at. It's going to be a Red Bull, Mercedes, just those top 2 teams, and that is already percolating, and that is going to be the story of the season.
Think about it. They coming into this race, we all thought Red Bull was going to show out, and what happens? 0 points.
I thought Verstappen was going to win.
Verstappen was on a great tire strategy. He was going to be. They had mentioned that because of the temperatures, the soft tires were not going to be as effective as previously thought. So the medium tires were the move, and Verstappen was the one on the top drivers on the mediums. He was going to be on the attack, and it did not materialize.
And even when Verstappen went out, they put Albon on an awesome strategy by putting him on the soft tires when everybody else went to mediums.
Bro, if that incident with Hamilton did not happen, he probably would have won the race or finished at least second.
Probably would have won the race. Now, there was a lot of talk about that incident, and it was I thought that the penalty was correct, but there
was a lot of people on Hamilton's side.
Wellington, do you think that it would have been more beneficial for Albon to be a little bit more patient in that situation?
Yes. That turn leads into a straight, and they don't have the straight line speed that Mercedes would have had. Lewis would have pulled out further ahead in that section. Albon would have caught him, in my opinion, and he would have caught Bottas. Now the question is Albon the technical and aggressive driver to be able to pass Lewis Hamilton? That still remains to kind of really be seen in a situation that is just one-on-one neutral, just the way that was. Unfortunately, Hamilton bumped into him, and we don't get
pass cleanly. Hamilton's not going to let it. They just hey, here you go. Pass me.
So we didn't get to see exactly what the result would have been there, but it would have been. This is now starting to, like Yancey said, it's starting to percolate into a little mini kind of thing. I wouldn't call it a rivalry. I'll call it a thing.
Back and forth.
Max probably would have won that race if. I mean, he had the better car. He had a lot of the Red Bull upgrades on that car because obviously they didn't put some of the upgrades on Albon's car, and Albon still did an awesome job. So you can see how good that car is. It's unfortunate they missed out on a good opportunity for a points haul. That next race, they're coming for blood, man.
Ruben, final word on this.
No, I think there's a future for Red Bull with Albon. So Vettel seems kind of, in the dark to go back to Red Bull. That's not going to happen. I don't think so, because Albon is earning his spot. He came from Toro Rosso, and he's earning the spot. He should be able to keep it. Give him a chance, and he's only going to get better. I mean, this weekend he was awesome. Overall, the challenge of that, bring it on.
On a pure entertainment value.
Exactly. That's what
wouldn't it be good if Vettel was teamed up with Verstappen to see what happens there?
It would be amazing. What was it? It was also China 18, or was it 17, that they crashed into each other.
Yes.
And they affected, I think it was both years actually, that they affected each other big time.
They've had a lot of run-ins.
Yeah.
They've,
little bumps here and there.
Vettel gets nervous around Verstappen, man.
Vettel gets nervous against on everybody.
Yeah.
Look at this past weekend, Spinderella incident.
Spinderella.
Come on, do that little turn.
So
Actually, I'll tell you what, you can. Everybody was feeling bad for Vettel, coming into the season, but after that happened, I think you can see why Ferrari
Needs to move on.
Yeah.
So I actually, it's Austria and then Hungaroring, which are two Red Bull tracks. That's why coming into the season, people were like, oh, Red Bull's going to come out to a good start. But I kind of want to backtrack a little back to Ferrari. They were, per reports, per Mattia Binotto himself, their team boss, they were lapping at 0.7 seconds per lap slower than Mercedes. They had major updates coming for the Hungaroring, which would be the third race of the season. That ended up kind of forcing their hand to get the updates developed so that they could be, I don't want to say competitive, but more competitive in this upcoming race. Is this desperation, or is this like, it looks like Mercedes won't be on their game, or like maybe, there's a chink in the armor here with, some issues that they maybe haven't, which actually they don't.
I don't think it's desperation.
They just want to get points.
Listen, after Sunday, that's when like, wait a minute, like, dude, are we this far back?
Yeah.
Hell no. Put a freaking
That's his
rocket
weekend.
ship. Yeah.
That's just Sunday.
Put a rocket ship on it. We need that back now, or we're gonna be with Williams. That's what I think happened.
With Williams.
No, I'm saying, bro,
look at what
they were
I
really
said.
struggling.
Look at what I said. I said that Ferrari right now, as currently constituted with no upgrades, are fighting in the midfield. Sebastian Vettel did not get out of Q2.
Yep.
And going into Q3, Leclerc had the 10th fastest time. They're fighting in the midfield.
Wait, and he thought he did like an over the top lap, because when they asked him, you're P10, he's like, unbelievable. What was it? Unbelievable.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's
crazy.
crazy. So he thought he did a super fast lap.
I agree.
Yeah.
And this is a man that, what he doesn't think is crazy? Dressing up as a banana. So you know that this is crazy.
So I thought when I first heard the reports that Ferrari was going to fast track these updates, I thought it was desperation. But reading something,
and they could come with flaws.
They can, but this is one of the beauties of doing two races at the same track. They bring their updates. It's not the entire package that they planned. I think they just brought a front wing and maybe some other things. But the front wing is the main update that they're bringing this weekend. But doing a race, two races at the same track, they can see exactly what works and what doesn't, because they can compare the performance
from this week,
from last week to this week, and they can say, okay, this is working, this is not working. So, and that was the reason that they gave today. And Vettel actually said this today in his news conference. He said, the benefit of having a second race here at the Red Bull Ring would be, and I'm paraphrasing, would be to compare the performance of the car with and without the upgrades. We already know how the car is going to upgrade with in our first iteration of the car. Now we bring some of these updates. We already know what's going to work, what's not going to work, what we can work on. And eventually, obviously, they're not going to have time to put on new parts. We'll take the data from this race, this upcoming race, and put on new parts for the third race, which is literally the week after. Triple header. Yes. But they can get a good idea of what's working, what's not working on the car, and they can, update it later. So, they're not going to be able to do anything with the engine. The engine, it's already a freeze. It's homologated. No team can update the engines.
Would you just call me? No.
When I first heard that word, I thought somebody was telling me bad things too. But they can update all the aero on the car, and that's what they're doing. It's funny because last year the Ferrari. The problem with the Ferrari is that it was a low drag car, so it couldn't go great to the corners. They updated that, and now it has too much drag. It's a little bit faster through the corners, but it's still slow, and on the straight is almost a second behind, that's a lifetime in F1.
I mean, if they bring it this a week earlier and it works, good for them. It could also set them even further back if it doesn't work.
Well, that's what happens with updates. You don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I hope they get their act together, but like right now, they're fighting in the midfield.
I mean, they'll have P1, P2, P3 to be able, or FP1, FP2, FP3 to be able to determine does this work before going into Parc Fermé where they have to set the car. So they'll have some time. Yeah,
I mean, the last week result was, I mean, Leclerc drove great last week, but that was a race of attrition, basically. Come on.
A race of what?
It was a race of attrition. It's basically survive. Yeah. Just basically survive and you're gonna get a good place.
He made it to P2.
He made it to P2, but if you don't have 7, 8, 9 DNFs or did not finish, then
and all the safety cars.
Yeah, and all the safety cars, then you don't get it. You're fighting. You're still fighting.
Where would have been for the weekend without the safety cars?
I mean, it would have been horrible. I mean, and we're talking about Ferrari. We're talking about Ferrari. It would have been horrible.
Speaking of Italy and Ferrari and just news continuing, the next set of tracks and races one has been confirmed. The next is like quasi confirmed. We're moving on to at the end of the season, the current eight race season, moving on September 13th, Mugello. That is in the Tuscany region. It would actually be even more of a home race for Ferrari.
They own that track.
They own the track, yes.
Wow.
So beyond that, 9/27, 2 weeks after, would be Sochi, going back to Russia, one of the not so much fun tracks.
Oh, come on. That race is awesome. So exciting.
How much are the oligarchs paying you? It is it's a track. It's definitely a track. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then Portugal is still rumored to be out there. It may be confirmed for immediately after that. And then the U.S. Grand Prix, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, they're still possible, but I would not, based on what's going on in the world right now and with illnesses, I would not bank on any of those happening.
I doubt Canada will happen, even if they can make it.
Well, they're the only race on this side of the world that's looking possible.
Yeah, but it's going to be too cold.
Yeah, because
what are they looking in December?
They're looking at like mid-October.
Mid-October.
So at that,
and it takes weeks.
They're already playing hockey on the track.
Yeah, seriously, and it's cold.
And it takes weeks to set up as well because
because it's a street track.
Well, I mean,
because all the stands and stuff like that.
Right, but they do that concurrent too.
Yeah, well,
so meaning it needs to be decided around now so they can start prepping for everything.
Well, they need, I think, was it
6 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, I mean,
6 weeks.
Listen, I'm glad that Mugello is almost confirmed. I'm sorry, confirmed. And Sochi is Sochi, but it's another race on the calendar.
Yeah, it's another race. You're right.
We don't know too much of what's going on in the dealings behind it, but we definitely need more than 8 races confirmed.
You know why I'm upset? I'm going to tell you guys. I've been holding it in. This officially, granted, it wasn't going to happen, but now this race replaces where Singapore was going to be. So I'm a little heartbroken.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah.
Poor
Me
baby.
too. Not as heartbroken as one.
All right.
For you.
Moving on, Styrian Grand Prix. This is the same track, different name, second time around this season. What are we looking for? Maybe a trend that comes out, something that we didn't see last race that we'll see this race. Ruben, what do you think going into this race weekend?
It's going to be interesting to see Mercedes because I don't think they have fixed that glitch, or maybe they're sandbagging it. But they've been saying that it's not 100% fixed yet.
They're not sandbagging.
But we never know.
The gearbox issue.
Well, it wasn't a gearbox issue. It was like a sensor thing.
Okay.
So there were even questions regarding to both us and Hamilton today about it, and they both said we would just follow what they'll tell us over the video to do.
It's what you said last time, that they'll just put duct tape on it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, duct tape, super glue. They'll put something, but they'll make it work, and they'll.
It seems like they're gonna be driving with like one hand tied behind their back, man.
But
they still won the race.
But also, if there's nothing wrong going on with the car, it wouldn't be a race. There's something going on. There's something going on in every race. For Hamilton, every race the tires.
Yeah, but well, here's
there's something. There's always something wrong with the car.
The interesting part about racing at the same track again for another weekend is that you get a second crack at it. Do you think that Red Bull can give them more of a fight?
Absolutely.
If the same thing doesn't happen to Max, Mercedes is done this week.
Absolutely. Do you think that Mercedes is going to be looking to qualify on mediums now? If it's me, if I'm a top team, I try and get myself onto mediums.
Listen, practice and qualifying is going to be very interesting. It's supposed to rain all weekend.
Ooh, can't wait.
Except Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday's going to be a clear day.
Sunday's going to be clear,
but
they won't be able to test as well.
If you get a rained out qualifying, we know how much fun those could be. Man.
Yeah, because of the backup. Not even just, can we get a couple of drizzles, so it could be, okay, do we do wets? Do we do soft? What do we do? Like, what are we doing?
Intermediate to the
what are we doing?
Yeah.
Interns, like, what do we do?
Yeah. I mean,
that's where it becomes like a real competition. So that's why also I'm excited for all the regulations that are going to come out to be on that aspect. Like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't do much because we'd rather the budget. Oh crap! Like, what's next?
Well, I think Mercedes, they're such a good team. It's so hard to write them off. It's like, I'm a big basketball fan. It's like watching the '98 Bulls. It's like they come close to losing, but they just don't lose.
They always overcome.
Yeah,
the issues that arise, they always overcome.
Yeah, or even
what is the thing?
Any Michael Jordan team. It's just and I compare Lewis Hamilton to a Michael Jordan figure. Lewis Hamilton is never out of it, and he'll find a way to win regardless of.
You were thinking about Still I Rise.
There you go, the tattoo. Exactly. Yeah, I'm still thinking. I'm here quiet thinking about the tattoo. Like, what is it he says?
The problem.
Here you go. That's the team as well.
The problem with the Mercedes is an electrical issue. They get too much. With these cars, they have a ton of sensors, and if the sensors feel that anything is wrong with the car, they shut off the car immediately. So that's what they were afraid of. It was a sensor issue, particularly in the gearbox, which is basically the transmission. They call it gearbox in Europe. They're getting so much, signal, disturbance that it could trip a sensor and just shut off
the car protects itself.
Yeah, basically.
So that's probably what happened to Max.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, kind
maybe,
of.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the exact reason, but they knew that problem was happening in practice before the race, but they just don't know when it's gonna pop up. But this is a track that you gotta ride the curbs in order for you to get around the track,
and be faster.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess their strategy should be, like you said, go on a softer tire,
or harder tire,
or a harder. Well, not
the mediums.
No, I think it would be better to go on a softer tire, or get out in front super fast and then manage the race from there, because you're gonna get that sensor issue. I think that would be the best.
What happened
strategy.
this past Sunday?
Yeah, but other teams know that.
Yeah,
that's probably now they know it. So you better believe Red Bull and their strategists are gonna come up with something to counteract that. And like I said, Red Bull is out for blood. They want the championship this season.
That would be,
and this is their track. Remember, this is the second week at their track.
Yeah.
What I'm gonna be looking for is, so this is now 2 years in a row where Lando Norris comes out and he's the man at the start of Austria, and he does pretty well. He got the podium this year, last week,
and fastest lap,
and the fastest lap last year.
What an epic lap that was!
Wow, last year he was fighting. I want to see where he's going to end up this time. Now he's confident at the track, in the car this year, thinking that he could beat the big dogs. Even more confident. I want to see what comes out of that.
Confidence is such a big factor in a driver. Man, that is a really good point.
Listen, that video that they put on YouTube, when he pretty much was being coached on how to go about in every turn, in the last 2 laps, when they're telling the gap to Hamilton, and go put him 7, put this, put that. When I first time I saw, I got goosebumps because I was so excited for him. And
it's amazing to see a Twitch streamer be able to actually
and just the way he was going through those corners,
it's like poetry in motion. It's like the Hamilton Singapore lap.
Yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. But that Hamilton Singapore lap,
that was legendary.
So that was what, 2018, right?
17.
No, 18.
It was
18.
18. It was 18.
So the other thing
We were hoping to see that this year, to see that lap.
the other thing
Sucks for you.
Yeah.
Don't cry, Wills. Don't cry, Wills.
The other thing that I really want to look for is we just talked about strategists getting another opportunity here. So what I really want to see is what does Racing Point do as far as how do they adjust now to McLaren, where they were supposed to be the best of the rest, Racing Point. How do they adjust to how strong McLaren came out? How do they adjust to the tire strategies where they got it wrong with Sergio Perez, and where Lance Stroll actually looked strong all weekend? I feel like they can make a real quantum leap this year, and in particular in this track, to show, guys, we're here, and guess what? Next year we've got Aston Martin money coming in, and we're going to show you guys what's up, and it's not just going to be top 3 teams. We're joining that.
Yeah, again, the beauty of racing at the same track again for points. I mean, and you can adjust. It's like watching a 7-game series in baseball or in basketball or in hockey. You know, you face each other at least 4 times, and you can adjust how you face each other. You can make adjustments. This is at the beginning of the season when you announce that you're gonna have 2 races at the same track. It's like, it's gonna be the same story.
At least
over
it's a
and
good
over.
track.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. It's when you can make adjustments at the same track, the story is going to be different. I'm excited about this race because, like you said, Racing Point was
They were
expected to do better, and they did pretty good. But they got the penalty with
Bro,
Perez.
they did awesome. Pretty good.
Perez
No.
would have been on the podium if it wasn't for that
But-
mistake by the strategist.
But they messed up on the strategy. Now we didn't get to see.
But
that
to
strat-
win, you have to have the package.
we didn't get to see that strategy play out though.
correct, because of all the safety.
Yeah,
cars.
because of all the safety cars. But that is something that you have to factor in too. When are you going to get a safety car? What happens with this? These are things that strategists have to think about when they're planning a strategy of the race. That's why they have multiple plans. The Ferrari famous radio, plan A, plan C, that's what they go through. But this is the part where it gets interesting, at least for me, and I know for you, Wellington, because you love
This is
strategy.
what I love.
So we'll see what happens, but I think we're gonna get a completely different race
this coming weekend.
this upcoming weekend. It's gonna be
I'm gonna break out the graphing paper.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have as far as predictions? I'll go first. I think Bottas is going to take it again. This is a track that he has shown that he is just good at. I think that he's going to repeat. I think that number 2 is going to be Verstappen. Hopefully there's no problems. And then number 3 will be Lewis Hamilton.
no.
That's where I'm at.
I'm gonna switch that up a little bit. I think that it will be Verstappen winning. I don't think
Which
Red
would be
Bull-
awesome.
Of course, it would be for you.
Yeah.
Big
Love it,
Max
man.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max fanboy. You talk about me and Leclerc.
Max Power.
Yeah.
Max
Mad Max. I think Max will pull it out. I don't think Red Bull will go silently. I think it's gonna be a fight between Hamilton and Verstappen. I think Hamilton is not gonna go out quietly either. I think he's gonna come back better. And I say Bottas third.
I would love the situation you just said to play out, yes. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. It's going to be Max, Bottas. I'm not going to say Leclerc. They're too slow.
You think that Bottas will beat Hamilton again this
Yeah.
weekend?
Yeah.
He's going to be ahead again. He's going to do another lap just like he did this weekend.
Here's what I'm going to say. And this may be controversial, may not be. I think Hamilton is distracted. There's a lot of things going on in the world. I feel that he may not be 100% on the track right now. And then on top of that, you got a little Christian Horner right in his ear, like the little kid in the playground. I think he is not there right now. But we've seen it before where as the season goes on, he just takes off.
Yeah.
Listen, that argument that Hamilton is distracted holds zero weight.
Let's ask
They
Nico
have
Rosberg.
been saying that for years about Lewis Hamilton, and he still wins championships. He only got beat, and he barely got beat by Nico Rosberg.
I want to give you some information.
That Lewis Hamilton being distracted is complete BS.
So the last time Hamilton did not win a championship was 2016. The last time the Black Lives Matter movement was around, 2016. As big as it was.
Whoa!
I know. Conspiracy went back. I got my tinfoil hat right now.
That's a pretty big one too. On top of that, nah, man, Hamilton is not distracted. That man is focused. He's a champion. He is, like I said, I compare him to the most dreaded.
I would say he does have a lot of
me the most dreaded.
But he always rises.
I'm a Knicks fan, and I suffered throughout the 90s with Michael Jordan beating the hell out of the Knicks. Hamilton is probably
destroying the hell out of the Knicks.
Come on, man. Jesus, why you gotta say that? Anyways, Lewis Hamilton reminds me of somebody like Jordan who just literally just does not stop coming for you, and he will beat you like a drum while he's doing it, and he will come back strong the next race, and he's going to be strong the entire season. It's what he does. He is Lewis Hamilton.
He's just said that it's going to be Max, Bottas, Lewis, Albon. One of those two. If they knock into each other again, Lewis is going to be 5 seconds behind again. So who knows?
Lewis distracted, please.
Bro. No, he has a lot of distraction, but they don't show in the track that much. They don't at all. Like, come on, this guy's in everywhere.
All right, fine, whatever. Listen, Lewis is not distracted. Just the same way I said, Alonso will be coming back. You guys never believe me? Fine, don't believe me. Lewis Hamilton will win this race.
We'll win the race.
We'll win this race.
He'll be in the podium.
He'll be on the podium.
Oh, come on. That's like saying
he'll be on the podium.
It's going to rain next week. Yeah, of course. At some point.
The only reason I wouldn't be, listen, it wouldn't be far-fetched if he wins the race, but I think that Red Bull is going to come out super strong.
So you're telling me that
it's going to be a fight between Hamilton and Verstappen. I think Verstappen will come out.
You would not be surprised if the current reigning world champion in the reigning world champion car wins the race. Good take, man. Good take, man.
Listen, I'm traumatized, bro. I've been rooting against them for the past like 2-3 years, and they just win. So I'm not going to root against them. The Mercedes is an awesome team. And Lewis Hamilton is the best driver in the world, man. Possibly the best driver ever.
The GOAT.
Go.
So from here, we want to just switch gears up a little bit. We want to talk about fantasy Formula One, something that we had been wanting to talk about, but I gotta hit the drop.
The drop work.
Big drop.
I forgot to take it off mute.
Boom.
The awkward the Russian bots got your computer, bro?
Because I didn't want the phone to ring. All right. So I want to change gears a little bit. I want to jump into something that we talked about, or we actually talked about in the first episode, but we'll start to address now. We'll start talking about F1 fantasy. I'll hit the drop. Hopefully it works. What's your fantasy? So,
yes, you got excited when you heard that part.
So the way that it works is very similar to daily fantasy football or baseball or what have you fantasy, in that it's a cost cap structure. The roster that you construct is made up of 5 drivers from, the whole grid. And then you also have to pick one constructor out of one team out of the 10. You have $100 million and you have to spread it out in such a way that you field a competent team. So from there, what you end up having to pick, essentially the most expensive teams from top to bottom would obviously be Mercedes and Ferrari, Red Bull, etc.
Each driver and each team has an assigned value.
Right.
Basically.
Here I was just talking about the constructors. And then on the driver's side, each driver, based on how many points you get from them having assigned value. So from there, you pick your driver lineup, you pick your constructor. Race weekend, you get points in the sense that in qualifying, if they make it to Q2, they'll be able to get points. If they make it to Q3, they'll be able to get points. And then where they line up as far as the starting grid. Beyond that, then it becomes the race, how many cars they overtake, what position they finish in. Did they do, did they finish worse or better than where they started, or worse than where they started, or did they DNF? So that is essentially the basis of fantasy Formula One. I don't know if you guys want to add in anything. I know I'm the nerd as far as fantasy sports goes.
I didn't know that
I'm like
much
super obsessed.
I just picked a couple of drivers for the money. Oh, it's too expensive. I got to switch them out. I got to bring somebody else. I did not know all the details that Wellington.
This is why I'm the reigning champion. And I'm currently ahead.
I'm trying to dethrone this guy, but he's too good.
But you still got to get past me.
I'm second.
He's in second place right now.
That's fine. That was only
last season. He did not do that good.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I wasn't paying attention. It was my computer went dead for a few weeks. Yeah. Or I was hungover before I had to make my picks. I think that the best strategy, well, obviously you want to pick the drivers that are consistently in the points and consistently qualify the best. But obviously those drivers have a higher value, so you have to look for drivers like Sergio Perez,
who are
going to be consistent, who score you points.
Yeah, who's consistent, can consistently score you points, and then
and it's
can
one of the
qualify.
biggest bargain.
Can qualify. In Q3 because you get points as you successfully qualify in Q1, Q2, Q3. But the key is to find that driver who's constantly consistent and then put the turbo tag on him.
Yeah, so that's one of the nuances with fantasy Formula One, where it's not just you pick all the drivers, whatever, but then there are things like if you make a team adjustment, you can only make one per week unless you take a 10-point penalty off of your total, which ends up hurting at the end of the season because you're going to end up losing points. And then you can also assign a turbo driver whose points are essentially worth double, but they can be a driver they can only be a driver that is worth underneath the $20 million mark. So essentially who you're picking from is anybody that is not part of one of the top teams. So you're not going to be able to get Bottas, you're not going to be able to get Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, etc. You'll be able to do a Carlos Sainz, a Sergio Perez. If you want, you could gamble and you could do like a George Russell, see how well you turn out. Yeah, but those are some of the small nuances that make the week-to-week managing a little interesting.
Yeah.
The best way to tweak it that you could find out, the better your team will be. But it's important also. It's a math equation.
Yeah. It's important to get a good constructor also.
Yes.
Because the points, you don't get exactly the same amount of points that each driver would get, but you would get I think it's the points of the race weekend.
Yes.
Whatever they earn during the race, those 2 points get added together. So it's important for you to have a good constructor, so you can pick you don't necessarily have to pick. You can pick a top team, but it's going to take you a ton of money. But if you can get, let's say, I think this season, Racing Point, McLaren is a good bargain because they're consistently going to be in Q3. They're going to be, fighting for points in the top 10. And like we said, I believe it was last podcast, you only get points when you qualify in the top 10 spots. Qualify. I'm sorry. When you finish.
The fantasy is something I recommend anybody to try to get into and just play around with it. And as the season goes on, you will only get better.
Yes.
So what we'll do is in the show notes, we'll put the link and the code for our Jump to Start Racing League. You guys join us. I have 3 teams on there because I'm obsessed with the different permutations that you can create a team with. For me, building a team, it's about making sure I'm going to go into nerd territory, but making sure I get enough
surprise.
Yeah. Points per dollar such that I am making wise investments. So, for
Explain
example,
that to me, Wellington.
Yeah.
they're gonna see my strategy here, but I don't want to invest in, for example, Lewis Hamilton is like 30. The prices fluctuate a little, so he's like 32 to 33 million. The Mercedes team is 33.2 million. So I'll buy the Mercedes team up front. I know I'm gonna get points from them because it's the Mercedes.
the
They're
top.
consistent.
Mhm.
From there, I'll fill in 1, maybe 2 top tier drivers. So in top tier, I mean not Hamilton 32 million, but coming into last week, Bottas was actually very cheap compared to
Well, he delivered.
what he delivered, knowing that he had always been so good in Austria. You know he's going to get a good result. Then you look further down the line and you see like a Sergio Perez who was in the $9.5 million range. Carlos
cheap.
Sainz, $15.5 million range. So you start to look, you can't afford all top drivers. So you can only really do maybe 1 top constructor, 1 top driver, and then you got to fill in the rest with guys who are going to give you points for your dollar that aren't going to crash out. But you need to also take gambles at the bottom. So I gambled on George Russell this past week, thinking that the Williams was going to improve. I think he's a very talented driver, but that the Williams was going to improve significantly enough that he will be in the points that it would make me, I would come out ahead on that investment.
I agree with you. He's a talented driver, but that car
It is
is
a crap box.
horrible. That was a horrible pick, bro.
No. You have to
Horrible
pick
pick.
a cheap driver. I'm just also super
I know you
cheap
do,
for
but
the
not
talent.
why Russell. And
On the
for
money,
that-
when it
for
comes
that,
to
you can get like a Giovinazzi finish in the points last week. You could have gotten you really good points for the dollar amount he's worth. You know,
Kimi would have finished
but-
the points if he kept the wheel.
that was crazy.
Yeah.
That could have been so dangerous. Not even the
And Beto was super close to him, so you saw how the
Yeah.
wheel was like, whoa.
I mean, if you ever see an F1 car crash, when you see the wheels, they're tethered. Basically, they have 2 ropes, strong ropes, where the wheels can't.
and they just
can't
start
fly
bouncing
off.
a little.
And that's why if anything goes wrong with putting a wheel on wrong, they penalize you or they give you a fine, because if a wheel flies off and hits
Come on.
another car, that's ridiculous. Vettel, I mean, I
Was
guess
lucky
he saw
to
it
not
on
get
time, yeah, but that was nuts. That was crazy.
So, I mean, that's my whole diatribe on fantasy. We can talk about it throughout the year. Of course, it's actually team number 3, but team number 3 is ahead for me in our standings in our private league here. And like I said, we'll post the
You will lose
code.
this season.
I hope so.
guys. But that pretty much wraps it up. Ready for another race weekend. The middle of the 3, I guess, the triple header. But again, I want to notify you guys that we're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Please make sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave 5-star review. That's
Also,
about it for
follow
me.
us on social media.
Yeah, follow us on social media. Good point. Thank you, Yancey. Jump to Start Racing at Jump to Start Racing on IG and on Twitter. Anything else, boys?
No, that's it, man. Let's get ready for another race weekend. Just because it's at the same track doesn't mean it won't be just as interesting as the last race. It's probably going to be better or just as good. I can't wait to see what these teams change, their strategies, the updates that Ferrari bring. There's a lot of things happening around the track.
And the curse of Fernando Alonso is going to strike. Right now. No, I'm kidding.
Imagine he replaces Danny Rick in the middle
No,
of the
that's not
season.
happening.
Whoa,
That's
that's
not happening.
Yeah, I know. That's
Ruben,
not
what do you
happening.
got, man?
No, I think this weekend is going to be super exciting. The goosebumps that I'm going to get this weekend. Last weekend was for just, racing being back. This weekend is going to be for the competitiveness of it. And it's going to be super interesting to see this weekend. Can't wait, even for practices. Like I just want to.
Oh, I'll be up early tomorrow,
Yeah,
bro.
we have to see it.
The first practice, starts at like 6 a.m? No, 5, I think.
I'm on
be
the
up.
subway by then.
Huh?
I'm on the subway by then.
I know you're on.
this sucks.
Good luck
Listen,
to
I
you.
know you're on
Yeah.
your phone watching F1 TV.
right. That's right.
If it works.
if it works. Oh, don't even get me started, please.
I want my money back.
I am so upset about that. We're going to leave that for another time. Guys, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Peace out.
Bye.